I got to tell you, like, right to start off, I hate not having a minion. Like, because I told you last time we did a podcast that I was going to figure out what was going on with the feed from the computer to the recorder, and it's between that amongst a zillion other things. I need an assistant. We need an assistant. That's what we need. Ari as Lloyd.
I mean, we could, a Lloyd would be nice.
Okay, so today's Critique-Opolis, Soft White Underbelly. This was my pick. Mark, what's the producer's name? Is Mark
Laita.
Laita. He lives in Skid Row, Los Angeles, and he just does anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour plus interviews with street people who've got any manner of traumatic events in their lives, whether it's they're heroin addicts or prostitutes or victims of sexual abuse, been living on the streets, all manner of. These people have just gone through
mafia bosses, corrupt
police. So I've seen a number of these, but Louisa hadn't. So
she now has.
Yeah, I know,
but kind of addicting.
But see, when I sent it over to you, I softballed it a little bit because I watched some hard ones. Remember what I said last week, that the one I was going to have you watch, you had to shut off because it was rough. What was her name? Star. And she was a victim of incest. And I'm like, I'm going to, it's pretty hard. I bet Louisa can get through it. And you got through like 20 minutes? And you're like,
I think I got through half.
I
watched, and that was in two, yeah.
Oh, you had to break it up?
Yeah, I watched the half an hour that I watched twice. In two parts.
It was heartbreaking.
And I was like, I can't.
This girl, this isn't even one of the three that we said we were going to watch, but this girl, Star, her story is heartbreaking is the only word I can come up with. It's just...
It is.
It's crushing to watch.
Crushing.
That, like...
To listen to her talk about...
You've seen... Actually, tell me what you remember about it, because I just remember being exhausted after I watched it, and it was about 3 months ago. But what do you remember from what you watched? Because I don't even remember... Was it her father or grandfather?
It was her grandfather.
Oh, God.
And that was like... And when I heard that, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. And that went on for like 5 years or something?
A long time. I just got to the beginning of it, really, because before she talked about, I don't know, her life leading up to, like how she got to where she got, that her father was like doing the bad stuff to her. And I could, after that, I was like, nope, I can't.
And I know that anyone listening would say, why would you watch these mini documentaries that are so depressing? It's odd, like, not that you like to see how good you have it, but I think, I can only speak personally, but I feel like there's like some internal mechanism that makes you want to stay grounded. Not so much to say, like, compare yourself to other people's lives, but be like, all right, I'm doing okay.
I mean, there is something about it. I don't know if this is the right like path or thing to say, but right now, they're kind of addicting. Like, there's a ton of them, a million of them, and just to scroll through and look at what's available. I mean, some just like, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna watch. Yes,
I have to see what this.
And I have
with this person.
Other ones in the back of my mind that I'm like, I have to go back and like look at those. And like you said, they're between like 15 minutes and 2 hours long. So it's
you can pick and choose.
Yeah, but so, I mean, there's something. Yeah, it's kind of like watching Law and Order SVU.
Only, like, I think it's more.
I mean, it's
I
definitely
wouldn't say it's more tangible because it's a visual medium, but it's like it's closer to being tangible because it's real.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not scripted. It's like my life is like, here's how I ended up on Skid Row. And all these people who, like anyone who dumps on the homeless, like I've been harassed by the homeless at the farmer's market before. And yes, at the time.
I did it. It happened yesterday. I was like.
Oh, that same guy?
No, different.
Like if you encounter it, it can be irritating.
Yes.
But that's the thing with all like immediate interactions with people can be positive or negative. It can be like very visceral and very quick. But the guy that we're thinking of who's always down at the farmer's market, that guy has a story. And I'm willing to bet, and he seems to drift on the edge of, either schizophrenia or like high all the time. But like he got to that point somehow.
Yeah.
And that's what these Soft White Underbelly episodes chronicle. So the ones that we watched, one was on, do you have the ones up that we watched? Because I want to be able to reference their names. The first one was a drifter. And what was his name?
I think it's Deke. It's Deke.
Yeah. And you saw these more recently than I did, so you're going to remember particulars better than I will. His entire face is tattooed. Which I found this really interesting. This is what I remember about him.
Bright blue, by the way.
Yeah, bright blue. It's almost tribal.
Yes. Very good.
And if I remember, didn't he say he did this so it would alienate him from just the regular world?
Yes, I do believe so.
I'm like, well, you did that on purpose and you knew what was going to happen. So you'd have to only interact with people who could get past it. I'm like, that's real commitment to want to have a human connection.
Yeah.
Well, I remember driving home from bottling honey and being like, wow. That guy really wants to know who's interested in his life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd never do it, but
yeah, he went through a lot of lengths to
just separate himself from the regular world. And I was surprised by. He was pretty sane.
Yes, I thought so too. Actually,
he didn't really have a problem with drugs, did he?
No, I don't think so. I think no drugs, no alcohol. I think he just didn't agree with what most of society is.
And he has...
and living like that.
Yeah, the dog, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he has multiple dogs.
Yeah, and they're like his children.
Yeah, they're very attached. They're very bonded.
And he has a kid too, right?
Actually, I think so, yes. Maybe in his 20s?
Was it the daughter or was it the son?
I think it was a son.
Okay, but not...
not someone that he's in contact with?
And I think that was just kind of... I think his like all things in life, he kind of progressed to this, right? I think his whole story is like, I was ready to see him as like coming from abuse and having a problem with drugs, and none of that.
No, I don't think so. From what I remember,
I don't even think he was on Skid Row. He literally drifts between L.A. and
he does. He goes all
Seattle.
over.
Yeah, or like all over the place.
Or that area of
West Coast.
the state. Yeah.
But,
yeah, it's a very interesting story.
That's actually why I wanted to send that one to you, because you look at it and you're like, ugh. But you listen to the guy talking after half an hour, you're like, this guy's more together than most of the people I see walking around in suits and going into offices.
Yep. He knows exactly what he wants, and he just went after it. And
it's not like he has like giant goals. He sees the world for what it is.
It sort of reminded me of that movie Nomadland.
I didn't see that, but the Frances McDormand thing with everybody working for Amazon and going from town to town. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a very interesting movie.
I mean, it would make sense that reminds you of it. The guys are
Yeah, I could see.
Drifter.
Yeah.
I mean, he has the clothes on his back, a knapsack, and dogs. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'll end up where I end up. I'm like, wow, that is to people like you and me. I'm like, that's really courageous. And to someone like him, it's like, why would you live any other way?
Yeah, and he
I don't have to worry about anything.
No.
I'm like, okay, good point.
Very happy with how he lives his life. He I remember hitchhikes and walks everywhere. Mm-hmm. He walks like miles and miles and miles and miles. And he's like really, I would say, in tune with nature. Mm-hmm. And he spends a lot of time in, I believe, national parks. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like any of these that we review, if we've done a good job of explaining it, go and check him out. His name is Deke. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the mafia boss was, what was his name? He's actually pretty famous. He's been on a number of podcasts.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look him up anymore, but there's we can talk about that later. Michael Franzi?
Okay. Let's see it. Francesi? Oh, I know we're butchering this because he's really famous. But yeah, he was an underboss to... Do you remember which mob? Because, okay, I'm not Italian. I don't know all the 5 families. But his claim to fame...
I think a family that started, their last name started with a C.
Do a Google search to see what family he was part of. But his claim to fame was he was one of the biggest earners for the mob for a long time. And he was in the 80s, right? Mm-hmm. And he made his money in a gas scam.
A ton of money. Like
hundreds of millions of dollars. And I think he did this in New Jersey and New York, right?
Yep, I think so.
He was skimming what were they doing? They were skimming the pump somehow, I think, because before they were digital.
Yeah, the Colombo family.
Yeah. And he was somehow they were skimming the pump before they were digital so they could get away with it. And then, again, this one I also didn't see. What did he, the feds got him or?
I think they were, going to get him. Yeah, and he,
Oh, he turned, didn't he? He ratted.
Yeah, I think so. In exchange for
immunity or
something like that.
I don't know if it was immunity. I'm pulling that from every mob movie I've ever seen, but he got a deal.
Yeah,
and so now he does speaking engagements. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he gave people up.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, it was just really interesting. He just he was in this mafia life for so long, and then he got out of it and wanted nothing to do with it. But also before he really did get out of it, he went back. Because I think he was I don't want to say addicted, but it was in him and he couldn't
He lived for the scam.
Kind of, yeah, sort of. Because he's in the interview, I remember a couple times, I think at least twice, he said he'd be like, I'm done. I'm not going to do this life anymore. And then he would go back because he, I don't know, couldn't function shake it.
Yeah. Did you ever see Godfather Part 3?
I never saw those movies.
Okay. Oh.
I know.
Come on. That's going to go on
They're starting.
List, but way down. So there's a scene in that where Michael Corleone and Al Pacino's I get out, they pull me back in. It's just like that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You probably saw that from the trailer. That scene was in the trailer.
I don't know what I've ever seen.
After we record, I'll show it to you because that came out when I was in high school.
The first one is showing in the Michigan Theater Summer Classics that are starting soon. I was thinking of going to see it.
You should definitely go. Everybody should see The Godfather. I just remember that his skim take for that gas scam. And like, I don't want to blow the story. So if you're listening, you should really,
Listen.
watch this.
Yeah, watch this one. Yeah, I don't want to say anything either because
they just made so much money. I mean, it was hundreds of millions of dollars, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was a crazy amount of money.
An insane amount. And
But like, as far as a person goes, very together. I thought. Now he does like speaking engagements, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's always on podcasts. I know that. I've heard him on like.
Oh, have you heard him on other things?
I've heard of him being on others. Now I haven't necessarily listened to these other shows, but yeah. Well spoken, well dressed. Not like a thug. You know how a lot of people see the. I mean, he was more. I think he was more of a capo, wasn't he?
More of a what?
Capo, like a
What does that
captain.
mean? Oh, yeah, in charge.
People,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But Michael Francesi.
Just very impressive.
I mean, even from a business standpoint.
Line of work. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, impressive in his.
I don't know, line of work.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta, like, regardless of the criminal element.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Regardless of the criminal element. Like, wow.
Like, he looked at how these gas stations were taking payments. He's like, wait a minute, there's money there.
Mm-hmm.
He just figured it out.
For example, just in case anyone's going to listen, at the age of 35, Fortune magazine listed him as number 18 on its list of the 50 most wealthy and powerful mafia bosses, just 5 behind John Gotti.
Whoa.
I mean, they're not statistics, but like the things that were said about him or the things that he did were just like amazing. Like how he went from zero. I mean, I guess everybody starts out with zero mafia experience, but he just like seemed to climb up the ladder very quickly, and he was doing it and no one knew about it for a while. And then,
yeah, he was definitely an under the radar cat.
There you go. Good word. Yeah. And then and then people were like, wait a minute, what's really going on here? Because something
You know what's funny is that, like, I think that has to do with personality and how you conduct yourself and how you speak, because he comes across like a gentleman and very well spoken.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no doubt that played into him getting a deal, and that I don't know if he did he do time?
I don't think maybe a little bit actually. I can't remember honestly if he did. He either did a little bit of time or he avoided time. I know his dad did a lot of time.
Yeah, because his dad was in the mob too, and I guess that's like so many professions that if your parents are in it, that's how you get into it.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You know, like that happens in Hollywood all the time. That actually happens because we're going to go see Top Gun Maverick. That happens with fighter pilots.
Oh yeah, their parents.
Yeah. So definitely worth checking that one out. And the one we just watched right before we did this recording. What was this feller's name? He was a PTSD survivor.
Mm-hmm. Scott. And Scott's PTSD. I'm going to let you take the reign on this one. What was Scott's story? He had a very rough upbringing, and his PTSD stemmed from everything that happened in his childhood, including, I don't think there was anybody good in his family.
That thing he said about how his dad disciplined him. Tell the audience.
His parents were awful. Well, his dad was awful because his dad, he thinks, had suffered from PTSD as well.
Yeah, it's like most forms of child abuse. It's generational.
Mm-hmm.
You know the sad thing, and again, this is just from a video. It's from watching it. You don't know what it's like in this guy's day-to-day life.
That's true.
But again, to watch him, he seems pretty together.
He does.
I mean, like, he left his family in Tennessee. He moved out to California with a backpack. And I did that, but I at least had money in my pocket.
Mm-hmm. More than $100.
Oh, yeah. I had a car. I had money. I had, like, resources, contacts.
Mm-hmm.
And he just got on a bus and left. And he left because his dad used to beat him with a switch that had thorns on it, for Christ's sake. I mean, it was, I'd leave too.
Mm-hmm.
And did hallucinogens, but like, this is what was so amazing to me is like, someone like that is primed to have a drug problem. Mm-hmm. And I mean, by his own admission anyway, he did not. But, you know, also like a lot of people are in his situation, he turns to the Bible, which, take no offense, people who are big into the Bible, but it's just such a common story. It's almost like a cliche. Mm-hmm. And you know what? Honestly, for him, good for him.
Yes, good for him. But, that's true.
You know, his relationships, his interpersonal relationships are kind of lacking. Mm-hmm. What did he say about his apartment?
It's very isolating. He'll isolate himself in his apartment for long periods of time when he's going like through something hardcore. Like, and then he's not interacting or doing interacting with anybody and not doing anything. He's just sitting in there.
Yeah, but he's like sleep.
Oh yeah, he said sleep. Yeah, sleep is his escape.
And you know, that's the thing with people in depression.
They sleep a lot.
That's a common thing. They'll sleep for like 12, 14, 15 hours. And wow. You know, that whenever you hear that someone's suffering from depression, or if that word does not come up, but you hear that they're sleeping for an extended period of time over and over and over.
It's a good sign.
Oh my God, that guy's really clinically bummed out. Mm-hmm. But, you know, honestly, these ones are odd success stories because he didn't have children, so he's not beating them. So effectively, and he's my age, like he's in his mid-40s, he's not beating kids. And what he's doing with his time, like he's ministering. Mm-hmm. And he's not trying to get rich. He's not, which I kind of don't understand, but, you know, I'm a vacant soul. He sees the value in like forming a connection with people when you can and building it. And he sees that as the only real currency is making a positive impact on somebody's soul, especially someone who's in dire straits or in trouble. Mm-hmm. And like that, you know, that's based off, you know, being beaten by his father. That's what he chooses to dedicate his life to. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a win in my book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is interesting that you point that out because it really is. It's true. Earlier you said, I think when we were talking about, his name is that Zeke, the drifter guy, how, I believe like how composed and how well spoken these people are. Mm-hmm. And, I've watched a lot of these since you told me about them, and they're all very well spoken for the most part, for the ones that I've seen, and I'm very impressed by that because the things that they're talking about, I would think would be really, really hard to talk about, and these people just they just spill it out. Yeah, like it's not. I don't know. It's kind of amazing to me.
I think, or I would surmise that if you live for years with anguish or things that would be considered emotionally excessively taxing, in some paradigm it becomes understandable, or you're like used to it to some degree, so you can express this is how it is.
Yeah.
Like I go out and I figure out honey flavors, and I sell honey, and I manage beekeeping. These guys, they navigate living on the street and trying not to get raped, and like dealing with mental problems brought on by family members that are just so all consuming. That's their whole day, is managing that stuff.
Every day.
Yeah. So we just, again, I cherry picked 3 to softball to you, but if you really want to dive in after listening to this, to some people who've got some really traumatic, tragic, and oddly uplifting stories, Mark Laita, sorry if I mispronounced your name, Mark, Soft White Underbelly. I'm sure it's got lots of views, but when I tripped across it, I thought that'd just be perfect for the podcast. So
it's very interesting. And also I'd like to add that the people that he talks to are all ages. Like there are really young people on there to like older people. Like
abandoned kids or kids of sexual trafficking or sexual enslavement who got away and are just living on the streets, or
just homeless kids, or kids whose lives they were like, I don't want this. Their lives were so bad. They were like, I don't want this. I'd rather
live on the streets and prostitute myself out than live with, whoever these people are.
Or they have no family, and the foster system is so,
jacked.
There you go. That they were like, I'm not doing this. I'm not living in this situation. But yeah, just very interesting.
Soft White Underbelly. Check it out.
On YouTube.
All right, so for the recipe portion today, as always, I'm always going to push the Instagram. So JAY, Hey Honey, for all the recipes. Most of the time they're on there. This one, it may be way, way, way back in the Instagram feed, because I have seen this one before. But if not, I'm telling you right now, you can follow this recipe because it's super easy. Even I can make it. This is to dovetail the newest Hey Honey release, which is Turkish sunflower honey. That honey I grow in southwestern Turkey near Bodrum, from large sunflower fields. Sunflower honey that I made into a limoncello honey. It's one of Luis's personal favorites, steeped with lemon curd, lemon peel, and raw vanilla bean. Okay, everyone's going to assume when they're hearing this that you have a biased opinion, but let her rip. How'd I do?
It's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
It's good by itself. It's good on...
What do we have it on?
Eating it on vanilla bean ice cream.
Talenti. Very specific on brands.
Madagascar vanilla bean, yes.
Oh, well.
And
we're
in
very,
our tea.
Yeah, we're very, very particular on Critique-Opolis, on brands. Brands are important.
Very important.
So this is the Gold Rush cocktail. I'm just going to give you a quick overview. It's a sour. And the name calls to a mid-19th century classic. Bit more modern than 19th century. This is something that you'd find nowadays in bars. I don't know if you'd see it back in the time of the Gold Rush, but bartender T.J. Siegel created it for New York's Milk and Honey in the mid-2000s. Blends bourbon, lemon juice, honey syrup for a whiskey-laced spin on the bee's knees. Bee's knees is another cocktail, actually. I do believe I do have a feed for that in the Instagram post way back a couple of years ago. So let's see. Recipe facts, 5 minutes prep, active in 5 minutes, total 5 minute prep time for one cocktail. And it's 5 minutes well spent. 3 ingredients only. 2 ounces of bourbon. Most important component, don't skimp on the bourbon. Louisa is a total booze bag. She's always drunk. She drinks tons of bourbon. What would you recommend? Okay, she's not saying anything because it's not true. She rarely drinks. But do a search for higher end bourbons because those are the ones I'd recommend. I think the cheaper ones are the ones that burn on the way down. Is it Knob Creek? That's a bourbon, I think. Well, she's looking up a good bourbon. Not that you can't find them on your own, but we'll make some recommendations. The other 2 components: 1/4 ounce freshly squeezed juice from a lemon, and 1/4 ounce honey syrup. Of course, I'm going to push my own stuff. You can use the regular lemon honey that we make. I also have a lemon ginger, which might overpower this a little bit. You can try it though. And then the limoncello, which is a little bit more, it's a little softer with, because of the vanilla component. And it'll make a, not as quite candy-like quality as using the regular lemon honey. But I do it, especially if you use a more verbose or abrasive bourbon. If you use a smoother bourbon, I think it'll be a more balanced experience. Quick directions: combine all the ingredients into an ice-filled shaker. You definitely got to have a mixed drink shaker. Shake until well chilled, about 10 seconds, and then strain it into an old-fashioned glass. Yes, you can use a rocks glass or a tumbler. But for all the pictures I saw online, most people put it in a old-fashioned because you're going to make a fair amount of it. Again, you're going to need a cocktail shaker and a strainer. That's it. It's, like I said, pretty easy to make, worthwhile with the right honey, and you know where to get that stuff. What bourbons did you find?
Well, we've got the ever popular Maker's Mark.
Oh, come on. We can do better than that for our listeners. Find me something expensive. It's not all about price, Jay.
What was the one that you suggested?
Knob Creek?
I didn't.
That might, again,
It might be something different.
That might be a whiskey. Because I'm not a big drinker, but I know that it's a blow to some people's manhood to drink anything other than beer when you're out, but
no prices. Sorry, go ahead.
Louisa and I bonded on our love of food and
good cocktail.
Good cocktails, man. They're worth their weight in gold. All right, maybe not gold, maybe their weight in copper. I'll do a quick search here. High-end bourbon.
We have Four Roses yellow label. Wild turkey.
There we go. Yeah.
What did you find?
Look, if you're gonna make any of these recipes and you're not of means, fine. By all means, they're for everybody. But I have found that with a lot of, not so much wine is hit or miss on price relating to taste, but harder liquors, I think most people agree you get what you pay for. Blanton's Special, wow. Even the bottle looks delicious. $230 for that. Or, I'll bet this is good. Weller Special Reserve, $340
I just saw that bottle.
Yeah. Okay. Best bourbons to drink. Best overall. Henry McKenna Single Barrel, Maker's Mark. Actually, all right, Maker's Mark, that gets a good. if that's on a lot of top tens lists, then that's totally cost effective. For sipping, Widow Jane 10-year. If you're Southerner, best Kentucky bourbon. I'm sure this will be up for debate if there's anyone in Tennessee or Kentucky listening. Evan Williams,
yes,
single
very
barrel.
much so.
Yeah. Evan Williams, single barrel. And before I forget, you wanted to make a comment about the Soft White Underbelly, the revisits.
Oh yeah, thank you for remembering that.
Yeah.
I did. The first part of our podcast was the Soft White Underbelly interviews, and some of them have follow-up interviews. So a few weeks down the road or a few months down the road, catching up with the same people to see what they're up to. And I haven't actually listened to any of the follow-up interviews yet, but
it's neat. It's like a part 2, but it's more captivating than a sequel to a movie because it's a real person.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mean, this is just going off the image, but these people look like they're doing better. Have you listened to any of the follow-up interviews?
It depends on who you listen to.
Okay. I could see that, yeah. I mean, I'm just going off a picture.
There's a couple. There was one by a guy named Gummo.
Mm-hmm.
Did you look at that one?
No.
That guy is a hacker.
Okay.
He's more of a white hat hacker.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that he was doing criminal things, but now he loans out his skills and his follow-up. I listened to that on the way to one of my shows.
Mm-hmm.
He does white hat hacking for institutions, helping people who've lost money or who've had their laptops or their bank accounts hacked.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely worth checking out the follow-ups. Like if you fall in love with one of the particular characters on that on Soft White, definitely check to see if they do a follow-up. Or you can it's the internet, you can reach out to Mark and see if he would do a follow-up on them because this is all he does.
Yeah, there's a follow-up that I'd really like to listen to for the Mafia one that we just talked about.
I didn't even know that he had one, so we'll put that on the list. Oh, and before I forget, because we're on the recipe section, if you're not of the means to throw down with Blanton's special, best bourbons under $50, Four Roses single barrel. If you want to spend a little bit more but not get crazy, best under 100. Will It Noah's Mill. So knock that recipe out of the park and send us a message. Let us know how you liked it, or if you have a way to modify the cocktail that you think would take it over the top. All right, on to the news. All right, on to the headlines. We grabbed stuff from, what's the name of that?
HuffPost.
HuffPost, but because we're a movie podcast, or at least a big component is movies, I started perusing Variety, because not that we're necessarily going to watch these movies and talk about them, because there's just so much content out there. But I tripped across this and sounded like an interesting story. Holy Spider. Variety did a review about this movie. Taut true crime procedural tangled in the wicked web of the Iranian patriarchy. I thought this was interesting because the movie is about a serial killer in Iran, serial killer of women prostitutes, which I was baffled by because I didn't think Iran would permit prostitution. I thought,
I still can't
that
believe
blew my mind.
this. I still cannot believe this.
I
have to be honest. If this is playing downtown...
You're going?
Yeah.
And take that, listeners. A cis white, bald, capitalistic male is recommending this. And not because it's about the brutalization of women, but I think ultimately they caught this guy. But what? Go ahead, make the comment. Don't censor yourself. Make fun of me.
No, it's not a comment to you or the person. I'm starting to read, so.
Oh, it's rough, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So maybe I won't go.
You can go. Like, yeah, they.
This just I cannot believe this.
So, just to catch everybody up, it's a serial killer in Iran who lives a double life, like they often do. He has a wife who I think later in the article I read, like she kind of wears the pants in the family. He's got a couple of kids. He's very meek around her, but he has some. He's a devout Muslim and he hates the idea of prostitution. So he goes out and he.
This is true.
Yeah. And he, like 15 women he got, and he actually gets chased down by a female reporter who, she's scrappy, and even the Iranian police, they don't pay this guy a lot of attention. The serial killer, they're just more or less indifferent to the issue because we hear all the time about the patriarchy in America. We have nothing on Iran when it comes to the patriarchy. But a reporter from, I believe, out of the country starts researching this and helps to track this guy down. But the movie is by Ali Abbasi. It's being billed as a tense and convincing procedural. And the person committing these crimes, you'll pardon me, I just read this article like half an hour ago. He kind of sees himself as being charged by God as needing to rid the Muslim world of these unclean, as he puts it, prostitutes. But the Iranian actor who plays him, I'm going to butcher the name here, so please forgive me, Mehdi Begistani, is a builder, a family man, a resident of Iran's second largest city, Mashhad, which apparently means the place of martyrs. He's a Shia Muslim and a veteran of the Iran-Iraq War. And he commits all his murders via strangulation. But Abbasi, who co-writes and directs this picture, has a pretty straightforward approach to this movie. I might even see this. Pretty brutal, apparently, from how all these murders were executed, but I like the idea of like all of the stories about serial killers. I like to watch the procedure in which these people are brought to justice, and this is especially kind of captivating because it's in a country that the legal system is like, oh, a prostitute was killed. All right, so what? Like, and that's coming from the police system. There was all kinds of details I would love to relate, but as I'm not a professional podcaster, this is just me and Luisa shooting off at the mouth. It sounded interesting to me because the character, the murderer, Saeed, is a doting father and really into his daughter and teenage son, but kind of a meek husband. You can kind of see that just when you hear that, like there might be a power dynamic inversion happening, and a repressed attitude, especially in how he views women. I'm still having a hard time getting my mind around the fact that there is prostitution in Iran. Yeah, I mean, it must be so. Like over here, there's glitz and advertisements around it. Like if you go out to Vegas, there I'm sure it's just someone by themselves on a street corner, and they have their. From what I read, the prostitutes have their regular johns, so they know who's picking them up. Because otherwise, if a woman's out there,
just
prostituting themselves, they're gonna get stoned.
Mm-hmm. This is.
But the journalist that ends up tracking down, what's his name? Saeed. Oh, I lost it. Chat for a bit while I'm regaining my spot here, Louisa.
So the Cannes Film Festival just happened, and this is where this movie premiered. And after it screened, it earned a thunderous 7-minute standing ovation. It says, bringing a jolt of electricity to what's been a sleepy festival so far. But this movie just...
You're going to go see this.
This is very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they think that it could be a front runner for... I don't speak French, so this other huge...
Palme d'Or.
Thank you.
Yep. And perhaps they wouldn't have found out if it were not for the dogged investigations of Tehran-based journalist Rahimi, largely fictionalized composite character played by Zara Mir Ibrahimi.
This movie can't even be screened in Iran.
Well,
the government won't.
Of course they won't. Of course they won't. That's the big. They won't. They don't allow anything. Iran's not known for fun.
I mean, it's not. I mean, yeah, everyone knows that, I think. But I'm just saying that, like,
I'm sure
this movie that they made there can't even be shown there.
You know, I wonder,
that's just interesting. Wow.
Do you think
I get it.
Do you think that I'm going to earn any hate points with the Arab community by saying Iran's not known for fun? I mean, is it? I mean, is anyone really going to argue
about? Yeah.
I mean, it's your home. If it's someone's homeland and they love it and they're attached to it, I'm not saying that there's anything deplorable about that. But when you think of fun places to go, I don't think Iran makes the list all that often. Unless I'm in the dark about, hot spots and travel in 2022. And I don't think I'm not.
No, I don't think you are. I'm not. It's not on my list of places to go.
But Holy Spider. Worth Variety did a piece on it. Might be worth checking out. Now on to oh no, I did lose my pick up the slack. What were your what was one of your headlines while I find my piece here?
Okay, one of my headlines is I'm not sure which one to do first. What?
Go ahead.
Man in Japan gets town's COVID funds by mistake and gambles it away. So.
Go ahead.
This man, that sounds really silly.
What's his name?
Received, it's a very good question.
This is why we need an assistant. We need someone to do research. We need someone to pick up our tea and our coffee. Someone to order food.
We need a
Should
Lloyd.
Be doing all this stuff. Yeah, we need a houseboy. A house person.
The way they dress is very important to me. I mean, it makes a difference. It can't just be anybody. Sorry, I can't hire you because you don't
look the part, man. Like you're gonna have to. You gotta have your own personal clothing budget, costume budget, call it whatever you want. But I don't want you showing up in flip flops and a hoodie.
Except that sometimes I'm wearing my pajamas. But anyway,
we're the employers.
Oh, so I can do whatever I want.
Yes, that's how it works.
That sounds awesome.
You see, this is why people want to be capitalists. I don't understand why, capitalists get such a crappy, they get shit on so much. It's not like we're abusing. We're paying this kid that doesn't exist. All right, what was reread your headline?
Man in Japan gets town's COVID funds by mistake and gambles it away.
Oh, that's great.
And not only that did he gamble it away, but when he was asked to return the money, he refused. So this money was supposed to be COVID-19 assistance for low-income households in a small town in Japan. But it was mistakenly wired to a bank account of a resident who refused to return it and spent most of it on online gambling.
My man, how much did he get?
$360,000 in US dollars.
Is he getting prosecuted? I don't know if you can you?
He was arrested.
Oh wait, yeah, in the US that might be, but this is in Japan?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's rough.
The money was left in his bank account after... the money was left in his bank account, and he withdrew the money 34 times in just over 10 days after the town made the mistake of depositing this money into his bank account.
They picked the wrong guy to deposit it in.
They really
Not
did,
only
didn't
did they send it to the wrong place, they just sent it to the most morally bankrupt person.
He's being
Way
held,
to go, Japan.
He's being held on suspicion of computer fraud.
Isn't that funny that they're like, you know what, you're not going to give it back to us? All right, we're just going to cook up some charge. Put you away. And like, honestly, that's kind of how power dynamics work. It's not, okay, you're not giving it back? Oh, okay. We'll make up something.
I'd also be really embarrassed that I was like the city council or whatever, the people like who did that.
That's just a good publicist. They're like, okay, this is totally our screw up. But call Vicky down in PR and what's this guy's name? Wang Fo or whatever his name is. What's his name?
Sho Taguchi.
It's not. I thought it was Wang Fo. What is it? I read this from a distance.
Sho Taguchi, a 25-year-old. It's not.
Go ahead.
Jobless resident.
Oh, no wonder he didn't want to give it back.
He can't. But that's a lot. Let's see. I'm trying to see how much. It's 46.3 million yen. Who has that kind of money?
Well,
do people have that kind of money?
That's not USD. That's 300 grand.
I know.
Mean, cities have that. City budgets have that.
Yeah, but not like an individual person.
Oh, sure. My God, you should. Some of my parents' friends. Oh my God, that's like that's one account.
Okay,
depends on what they do.
Okay,
that would be fantastic. I mean, not to get your door kicked in, because give us our money back. Okay, you're gonna love this. This is super topical on many. Or was there more parts of that story?
That's pretty much it. But it's just sad because I mean, you know, COVID's screwed everything up for everybody, and these families were each supposed to get 100,000 yen.
How much does that come out?
$780 USD.
$780.
Mm-hmm. Which isn't.
He gambled it?
Mm-hmm. Online gambling.
And he lost all of it?
I didn't say if he lost it all, but I would assume so.
I wonder if the city government can reach out to BetMGM and be like, hey, come on.
Can you believe that, though? I mean, goodness gracious.
I can believe it. People don't surprise me anymore.
This is true. This is true.
Okay, I love this. UK tribunal rules calling a man bald as sexual harassment.
Oh, I saw that one.
I love this. Oh God, I am just. I can move to the UK and I am primed to get paid by rude people. Okay, so check this out. A tribunal whose members alluded to their own experience with hair loss also compared calling a man bald to commenting on the size of a woman's breasts. This is amazing. This is amazing on two levels. A, that anyone is going to try and claim a man is being sexually harassed because of being bald. That's just an Herculean leap of of harassment. And I applaud them for even making the effort. All right, so check this out. Calling a man bald is considered sexual harassment. A British employment tribunal ruled on Wednesday. Oh, this is fresh. 3 members of the tribunal, which is a judicial body that hears workplace disputes, said that since baldness was more prevalent in men than women, using the word bald as an insult therefore related to a protracted characteristic of sex. The tribunal, whose members alluded that their own experiences with hair loss also compared calling a man bald to commenting on the size of a woman's breast. The ruling was on behalf of a complaint filed by Tony Finn, who worked as an electrician for the British Bung Manufacturing Company, and that's a company that makes the little rubber stoppers for whiskey barrels or wine barrels. He worked there for 24 years before being fired last year. Finn alleged that during a workplace argument in 2019, his shift supervisor, Jamie King, referred to him as a bald, I guess it's our show, called him a bald cunt, according to The Guardian. But, like, saying cunt in Britain is like saying doofus here. It doesn't mean anything to them.
Really?
It's not like saying that here is oh God.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Just short of getting locked up. I didn't write it.
I'm not saying it to you. I'm just saying in general.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's like it's the most degrading. One of the most degrading things you can say to a woman. But these guys say it to other guys over there, and they don't care. It's like saying twit or nitwit.
Okay.
Like anybody says twit or nitwit. The panel noted that Finn had not complained about the use of the 4-letter word, but was offended by being called bald. What a baby. Like, he didn't really care. He just needed to bring something he just needed to load up some ammunition for his case for this tribunal.
Mm-hmm. He did.
We have little doubt that being referred to in this pejorative manner was unwanted conduct as far as Finn was concerned, the tribunal found. This is strong language. I can't believe it, coming from a country that uses the C word as a throwaway.
Everyday term. Yeah, there you go.
They're calling bald strong language. That's amazing. People are crazy.
People are crazy.
Although, as we find, industrial language was commonplace on this West Yorkshire factory floor in our judgment, Mr. King crossed the line by making remarks personal to the claimant about his appearance. I will never... See, this is why the stock market fluctuates all the time, and no one can track it, because no one can predict human behavior. It doesn't make sense. It's as I like to say, bananas. All right. What happened with this guy? The panel said that while the company's lawyer correctly noted that women can also go bald, it noted, as all 3 members of the tribunal will vouchsafe, baldness is much more prevalent in men than women, and we find it to be inherently related to sex. Although Finn did win his claims of unfair dismissal, wrongful dismissal, being subjected to detriments and sexual harassment, he lost an additional claim for age discrimination.
My gosh.
All right, these stories have totally worn me out. I gotta eat. Next show, we have not picked the movie yet, but it's your pick, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You got stuff on the list, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We'll be back later at some point. Until then, behave yourself and have a cocktail on us. Actually, not on us. You're going to pay for it. Toodaloo. Talk to you guys later. You going to say goodbye? You're going to leave them hanging. They tune in to hear you, not me.
I don't know about that, but I don't know. I don't have anything creative to say.
You don't want to say goodbye? Talk to you later?
Goodbye and talk to you later.
Yeah. We got to work on your delivery.
I wasn't ready.
Yeah, okay. All right, behave, everybody. We'll see you in a little bit.